Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling one of the most literally life-changing decisions you can possibly make, finally getting out of debt. We're breaking down the source material to explore two battle-tested strategies to get you across that finish line. And really, we're going to heavily focus on one major secret weapon here, momentum. If you've ever felt completely trapped by endless monthly payments, well, you're in exactly the right place.
Deciding to be debt-free is huge. It's a massive, monumental step. But almost immediately, you hit this brick wall. You sit down at the kitchen table, gather your bills, and just stare at multiple balances, different interest rates, all these minimum payments. And it leaves most of us completely overwhelmed. You want to make the smartest choice, but where do you actually begin? Do you go after the biggest number, the highest interest rate, or something else entirely?
To make this a bit more concrete, let's look at a real-world scenario. Imagine you've got four incredibly common debts. You've got a $500 store card at a brutal 22% interest rate, a personal loan for $2,000 at 12%, a car loan sitting at $8,000 at 6%, and finally, a $15,000 student loan at 5%. All right, first, let's look at this debt profile strictly through the lens of a calculator.
So diving right into the first strategy, widely known as the debt avalanche. This is the purely mathematical approach. It's really designed for the highly disciplined, math-minded folks out there who want to attack the highest interest rate first, completely regardless of how big or small the actual balance is. The singular goal here? Mathematical efficiency. It is all about stopping the financial bleeding as quickly as humanly possible. When you take emotion out of it, the steps are honestly pretty straightforward. The avalanche dictates you target that 22% store card first. Why? Well, because mathematically, it's bleeding the most cash in interest every single month. And say that $2,000 personal loan happened to be at 25% instead, you'd bypass the smaller store card entirely and attack the personal loan first. You're basically always hunting for the highest percentage rate to strictly minimize your total interest paid.
Looking at the bottom line, mathematically speaking, the avalanche always wins. By targeting those high-interest debts first, you absolutely pay less interest over time and you become debt-free slightly faster. But here is the surprising part. On a typical $20,000 debt load, the avalanche might save you somewhere between $500 to $1,000 compared to other methods. Now, that's a meaningful amount of money, for sure, but over a multi-year journey, it's maybe not the massive, life-altering fortune you might have assumed, right?
So logic dictates we should probably just stop the explainer right here. The math is clear, the savings are real, case closed, right? Well, not exactly. The issue is that humans aren't calculators, and a spreadsheet doesn't give you a high five when you pay off a bill. If your highest interest debt is a massive $30,000 credit card balance, it might take you many months or even years to see any real tangible progress. And in that long, grinding void without a victory, human motivation tends to fade. You get tired, you get discouraged, and you run out of steam.
And that brings us to our second strategy, which is actually the real core focus of our explainer today, the debt snowball. Popularized by personal finance experts, this method takes a completely psychological approach. It tells you to literally ignore the interest rates. Just forget the math. Forget what makes financial sense on paper. Instead, you focus entirely on paying off the smallest balance first, no matter what rate it carries.
Now here is how this builds just incredible momentum. You list everything from the smallest balance to the largest. By attacking that $500 store card first, you eliminate a debt completely in a very short amount of time. You celebrate that win. And then, and this is the absolute magic of it, you take that $25 minimum payment you were making and you roll it directly into the next smallest debt. Just like a snowball rolling down a hill, your available payment amount gets bigger, heavier, and faster with every single debt you crush.
So, we arrive at this really fascinating divide, math versus motivation. On one hand, we've got the avalanche. It saves you interest, sure, but it severely delays gratification. It forces you to wait for the win. On the other hand, the snowball might cost you a little bit more in interest overall, but it manufactures those quick wins we desperately need to stay in the fight. It completely acknowledges human nature and our burning need for constant motivation.
Honestly, if there's one crucial takeaway here, it's this. A method you quit does not save you a single dime. Optimizing for the perfect mathematical outcome is entirely useless if the sheer lack of visible progress causes you to throw your hands up and abandon your financial goals 3 months into the journey. If you quit, the math literally doesn't matter.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The data backs this up beautifully. Research published in the Harvard Business Review actually found that people who use the snowball method are more likely to eliminate all their debt than those using other methods. Why? precisely because of the motivational power of quick wins. That incredible psychological rush of permanently crossing a debt off your list actually outperforms raw math when it comes to crossing the final finish line.
Let's break down exactly why this momentum is so incredibly powerful. When you hit that first zero balance, your brain gets a massive dopamine hit. It's behavioral momentum in its purest form. You suddenly have visible, undeniable proof that your daily sacrifices, skipping the coffee, packing your lunch, are actually working. That deep satisfaction of permanently eliminating a monthly bill creates a literal snowball of motivation. And that fierce dedication, that's the exact armor you need to carry you through the long, sometimes tedious months of paying off your larger, heavier loans later down the line.
Now, if you're sitting there feeling a bit torn between the cold, hard logic of saving money on interest and the emotional need for a quick victory, there's actually a third option. You don't necessarily have to choose just one. You can combine these two strategies to create what we call the hybrid strategy. Best of both worlds, really.
So, here's how you'd execute the hybrid approach. You start your journey using the Snowball method. You aggressively knock out one or two of your smallest debts just to get that essential motivational boost and prove to yourself that you can do this. You get the quick win. Then, once you have that momentum and your mindset is deeply locked in, you pivot. You switch over to the Avalanche method to efficiently, methodically tackle those heavyweights with the highest interest rates.
Regardless of whether you choose the math, the momentum, or the hybrid path, you can dramatically speed up the entire process. The source material highlights some incredible accelerators here. Things like making bi-weekly payments to squeeze in an extra payment each year, or throwing every single windfall, like tax refunds or unexpected bonuses, directly at the principal balance. And my personal favorite? Tracking your progress visually. Seriously, actually put a chart on your fridge. Seeing that line go up every single day is a massive, tangible psychological advantage that keeps you totally focused.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with the absolute golden rule of debt payoff. The best method isn't the one a textbook says is perfect. The best method is the one you will stick to consistently, month in and month out. Whether you are a highly disciplined numbers person or someone who truly thrives on the electric thrill of a quick win, the single most important thing is simply that you start today.
So I leave you with this final question to ponder as you look at your own balances. Which strategy, the precise math of the Avalanche or the unstoppable momentum of the Snowball, will give you the drive you need to finally become debt-free? Pick your path, take that first step, and start changing your